You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows like the one you're about to enjoy, visit electronicmediacollective.com. And now, our feature presentation.
Hello and happy holidays from the Movie Graveyard crew. We are getting ready to get into one of the most, I think it's one of the most interesting horror holiday films out there. But once again, I'm joined by the incomparable Trev 3K. Trev, how you doing?
Hey, we're doing pretty well. Happy holidays, Goat, to you and to all of the listeners. And yeah, I agree with you. I think I'm glad you contacted me about this one, because obviously there's some other choices this decade we could have looked at, and a lot of good ones. But I think this one is at least fairly unique in this little subgenre.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I don't know, it just puts a different spin on it. And I mean, I guess we'll just get into it. But I think this is one that, even though it's kind of like been around for a while, like I think it definitely deserves to reach like another notch or two in the the cult holiday horror pantheon there. So let's just go ahead and get into it. As of right now, holiday 2019, you can get this film on a reasonably priced Blu-ray, or you can watch it if you have Shudder. So I'm rolling off the Blue, Trev's rolling off the Shudder. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, go. And when I say go, hit play on your remote, guys. We have this, both versions, both streaming and disc. And also, too, this is also under a different title, You Better Watch Out. It's actually available right now.
Yeah.
I think
we didn't even say what the movie is. I guess maybe we should.
Well, Christmas Evil / You Better Watch Out / also, I've heard some people refer to this movie as Terror at Toyland, I think it is.
Huh.
I haven't seen any posters with that, but I've heard some people say that was another title. So, yeah. Once again, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, go. Everybody grab your remote right now. 1, 2, 3, go. And we were just rolling off the black screen at the very beginning, because there is like really no opening shit. It's just Christmas Eve 1947. We see
this movie's so badass it doesn't even mess around with opening logos. It's just
it doesn't.
Let's just get to it.
It just throws you right into it. But another thing too, I like this movie. I don't know if you go down this road with me, Trev, but this is one of my favorite like photograph films of this time period. Like, just the film stock, the lighting. I think this movie's actually like really artfully done.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that. Well, this is what, 1980, right? It's not that common to see like these like kind of cheapo horror movies at this time look this nice.
Right.
I think we're more used to it. There's a certain look that all those early slasher films have.
Right.
And this definitely looks a little better. Hey, this is like we did Pieces before.
Yeah.
This is in the same vein of Pieces, of like kind of a slasher film that starts with a flashback to like the 40s and 50s.
Exactly.
Showing the early childhood trauma of our killer.
I think Pieces was Boston 1942 or something. This is just Christmas Eve 1947. And like we said, like, the photography is really good. We're watching a couple young boys and their mom on the stairs, like kind of hiding, being sneaky, watching Santa come down the chimney. And it's like we said, like, you kind of have to see this movie to see what we're talking about. But there's even like a quick, like almost like little sped up shot of them coming down. Like it's all shot in a very magical way. But one thing that like really like I think is bizarre here is like, instead of leaving milk and cookies for Santa, Trevor, you notice they left like milk and butter and bread, and Santa's just eating plain bread with his milk. Like, there's just, look at that. There's just a loaf of white bread right there. And they also put out like a little bowl of water for him to dip his fingers in, a bar of soap. But
yeah, I didn't know if that's like some like old tradition that I wasn't aware of or what.
Yeah, I don't know. But, just really, like, I mean, obviously, I don't know what Christmas 1947 looked like, but, I mean, just the time period of this house. Yeah, Santa, he does a little thing where he touches his nose and he winks. And then he flies back up the chimney, which I thought was cool, too.
That's what it's cool, but it's kind of, like, it makes no sense, right?
Yeah. Well, the way I always took it is like you're looking at it through the eyes of a child, like all the magic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's that strange cut there where the family just disappears from the staircase too.
Yeah, it is a little weird, and none of the rest of the movie is really filmed in this style too, which is like, you know.
No, but I think you're right that even beyond the way the film is shot, like, so this is directed by Lewis Jackson, who I don't know too much about. I'm not even sure if he went on to do much else, but written and directed by him.
This is his last movie, so.
But this is like a really artistic film for what it is. There's a lot of interesting like editing going on in this, and kind of just like, you know, with the pacing and general tone of it. That's why I think you and I both earlier said it deserves more credit, because I think it gets lumped in with like a lot of kind of hacky Christmas horror slashers, and I enjoy a lot of those too. But this one is definitely there's a little more thought put into it, obviously.
Yeah, and I mean it definitely reaches some heights of absurdity. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time,
but this is no Silent Night, Deadly Night.
No,
which I mean I enjoy, but
yeah. Like, Silent Night, Deadly Night was my holiday jam until I got a hold of this. And, like, this is, like, the movie I actually watched to actually get me into Christmas, because the atmosphere is so good. The theming is actually much closer to Christmas. Now, here we have the older of the two boys, I guess. He comes down, he sneaks back downstairs, and he sees Santa, like groping his mom's garter. And I'll be honest, it actually took me a few times to really see this movie, understand what's happening here. So, like, this is where he kind of figures out that there really is no Santa Claus, right? Like, he realizes it really is just his dad.
Yeah, like the illusion of Santa has been shattered for him now.
Yeah. So he goes up into the attic and he plays with a snow globe. But then he gets pissed because now he realizes he keeps replaying in his mind his mom getting groped by Santa. And what's he going to do here in a second? He's going to smash the shit out of this thing. And then he picks it up, cuts his hand. Which, I always thought the hand cutting part, like the kid, was a little strange. But I guess this kid was supposed to be a little off.
It's not really something that comes back later either, like the idea of like self-harm or anything. No. But I mean, it seems like it's all there just for that shot of the blood kind of falling on the snow of the house in the snow globe.
Yeah. And Trev,
produced by Edward Pressman. That's a name that genre fans will certainly recognize.
Do you also get the title card that says this movie's called You Better Watch Out?
Yes, I do. Indeed. Okay.
Yeah,
I've only ever seen it with that title card.
Yeah, but I've always known this movie as Christmas Evil, and that's what the box says. It's just a little weird that the the main title of the movie is not really. I don't know. And we should say that John Waters, the great shock filmmaker, said this is the greatest Christmas movie ever made.
Mm-hmm. He provides an audio commentary on the Blu-ray.
That's right. I might have to listen to that. I probably won't get to it till after Christmas, but I want to hear his version.
You know, it's something, if we can deviate for just a second, and God knows you and I have digressions a lot, but I wish that's something that more like companies would put thought into, is having filmmakers do commentaries for movies that aren't their own, you know, kind of like a guest commentary. I've always liked that idea. You see it pop up here and there, but...
Well, I mean, obviously it's like, you know, especially if you could get somebody famous, but really just anybody who's made like one or two kind of decent genre films, if you can get them to especially talk about these older films that may have like influenced them, I think that's like pretty interesting, you know. I mean, obviously John Waters is like interesting talking about anything. You know what I mean? But,
yeah, because I know he's also done one for Mommy Dearest. She's also obviously obsessed with for all the camp reasons. But
so here we jump to present day, which is I guess either 1979 or 1980, if you believe that this movie takes place in the year it comes out. And here we have that young boy that we saw. Now, modern day, instead of like his psyche, whatever, because he didn't believe in Santa Claus anymore, he actually, instead of just shunning it for good, he actually goes the opposite and fully embraces Santa Claus. Like, he loves Santa Claus more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, his entire...
and this is where we start...
I was just going to say, his entire apartment is like head-to-toe Santa Claus shit.
Yeah, we see he sleeps in Santa Claus PJs. It's just really jumping into it. But this is where we start to get a sense of what you and I were alluding to, in that beyond just being, this is not a simple slasher. This is really more of kind of a twisted character piece and like a psychological study. I don't want to say like, this isn't Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer or anything, but it's like, it's in that vein of like, we're spending all of our time with the killer. Yeah. He's the threat of the film, but he's also a fairly sympathetic figure to us, I suppose, because we understand how he got to this point, and even we see how he's driven to what he does later in this film. But yeah, so it's not like, this isn't the typical stalk and slash, this era. Instead, it's like, it's really trying to say something. And then, as you said, so you were talking about the theming of it. It's, a lot of Christmas horror. So I'm sure we'll talk about some other Christmas horror films while we're doing this, but a lot of them just use Christmas as the kind of backdrop, and like the accoutrement of everything. And they go, oh, wouldn't it be funny if our guy, dressed like Santa? But this is a movie all about the idea of what Santa means and what Christmas means, and then placed into a horror context, which I think is why it seems like you said, it makes sense that you would watch this to get into the mood.
Exactly. And I mean, obviously he goes on his spree on Christmas Eve and Christmas, but the thing is like his behavior, like he lives this shit 365 days a year. Like here he is, like this is what this time period right now the movie's in, like it's a little bit before Christmas, a month or two before. He's literally on the rooftop spying on all the neighborhood kids, keeping track of who's naughty and who's nice, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's like, what I like about the movie too is like early on, because you don't really know kind of what his personal coda or his limits are or whatnot. Like, you might be thinking that he's actually going to be like a child killer or something. But I mean, as you go on, like you realize, like even the kid that he hates, Moss Santana here, because he's so naughty. Here he is, Moss Santana. He sees him through the window, cutting out the centerfolds of the Playboy, or I think it was actually the Penthouse magazine. Like he actually just wants to scare him. Like later on, there's a whole scene where he does something to scare. He's trying to scare him straight. He's not a child murderer or whatever. He just, yep. He's flipping through. He's even got the book like Santa Claus. He had numerous volumes, like by year. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like, I just kind of like that. Like, I definitely think this movie too tried to take a lot of cues from Taxi Driver. Wouldn't you say, Trev?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think a lot around this time, certainly a lot of people were trying to now go for that kind of more. I mean, to say realistic for some of the stuff that happens later is funny, but more realistic, like portraits of damaged people.
Yeah.
Maybe Todd Phillips will remake this someday.
Oh. Although the protagonist here, he might be a little young for Todd Phillips. Todd Phillips really likes his major villains to be all great haired and chain smoking and hungover and shit. This guy, he might live too clean right here.
This thing, this girl, Susie Lovett, there is a weird, and the movie doesn't go as far with it as I thought it would, or maybe that's a good thing, but the one area where it does start to get very uncomfortable is this kind of, this particular obsession he has with this young girl, to where later on we even see he's got like a picture of her that he keeps like in his desk, and that's where you start getting to, there's like subtle undertones of pedophilia, but it's interesting because, like you said, like the movie I think wants to play him as like more innocent.
Yeah.
But because he's the bad guy, because he becomes a killer, you can't help but watch the movie and think about this and the fact that he's spying on her while she's in the bed, like playing with her dolls. It's really uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I guess it's kind of similar to like Silent Night, Deadly Night. Like you never knew what Billy in that film would do or not do, but in the end, he actually ends up not harming any children. And in that one, I think it's just more that he doesn't happen to come across any naughty children. But in this one, our main character, Harry, I don't think he would harm a child. Like, I think he wants them to, like, learn their lesson and be good. Whereas the adults, I feel like, even though, like, it doesn't really explicitly state it or whatever, I think he's, like, more triggered by adult behavior than anything. Because it's, like...
Yeah.
Because it's really the adults that, like kind of, fuck with him and bully him all the time. So,
and in fact, with this scene here, so here we go to the toy factory which he works at. What Toyland is that?
Jolly Time.
And Jolly Time, yeah. And we learn, so this is one of the, I think, most interesting things and most unique things about this movie is that 9 times out of 10 when you watch a movie like this, the guy who we know is going to become a killer is like so clearly unstable, and he's like, this bizarre like weirdo that everyone is like afraid of or nervous around. And I think what's super interesting about this, and probably again more in the realm of realism to what we know about people who snap and things like that, is that for a lot of this movie, Harry is a pretty normal guy who we see he's actually been recently promoted at his job. He's actually like a boss there now. He seems fairly well liked in the sense that they're not making fun of him or anything. This guy, he has an employee now who's taking advantage of him in a sense, but everyone's not like, oh god, here comes that weirdo Harry. He really passes as like a normal everyday guy for most of his outward life in this.
Yeah, and it's like, except for the one guy who really does screw him over, it's it's kind of more just like they're all busting balls on Harry, but like he ends up the guy that takes advantage of him, he makes up some excuse why he has to leave work, so Harry has to go out and end up working his shifts on the toy line, which like Harry doesn't mind because that's what he used to do, and like you get the sense a little bit that he loves it or whatever, but yeah, he gets made a fool of eventually, and then that's one of his main triggers or whatever. But I was shocked to read that. Okay, so allegedly, I don't know because I don't know how true the facts are regarding this movie is. But supposedly they filmed this in a real toy factory, and I just found it so hard to believe because the setup is like so basic with these conveyor lines and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it really does. It kind of makes you laugh because it really does look like the basic toy production line that's in like every really old movie about Santa Claus, where they're making like the worst toys. And it's because this guy's like, oh, Harry, I can't work tonight. Someone really needs to take my place in the line. And then you watch it, you're like, really? Does someone need to be there to snap those two things into place? I'm pretty sure the next guy could pick up the slack in the line.
There's actually tons of people on the line, and all they do is like kind of the conveyor belt very slowly goes down with the toy pieces, and they kind of just hand assemble them. There's no real screwdrivering that we see. There's no gluing, no nothing, serious like that.
Yeah.
I would love to have some kind of like reproduction or something of the Jolly Time art that they put everywhere of like the Santa Claus saying if it's not a Jolly Time dream, it's not a dream worth having. I don't know. I think that would be cool.
Or even some of these toys would be kind of cool to have.
Yeah.
I don't know what the deal is with that, like that robot soldier who just holds like a lightning bolt or whatever.
Yeah, he's almost like a Nutcracker type or something that just holds a lightning bolt. I really like the Suicide Racers here. These just like, they look like the kind of like little motorcycles like you would pull back, or they would have that rip string that would like make them fly forward. They kind of look like that, and then they're just literally all red or all blue, and they just snap the little rider guy.
I like that everyone has to wear coveralls for this job for some reason.
Yeah, I was gonna say because if you notice the coveralls are green and then it has like a little stripe on it, like kind of like the Jolly Dream like stripe, which is like the candy cane striping. I think that was like intentional just to make them seem, kind of bring it more into the realm of them being elves making toys. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So here we have Harry walking home from work, and he's going to go by a bar, and he's going to see all his coworkers in there, including that guy that he had to work for because he had emergency or whatever he was laying down. And like not only that, but like it's very convenient he happens to be walking by at the time that the guy's like ridiculing Harry who's outside the window watching them in the bar. Great bar name too, the Odd Couple Lounge. And, like, I mean, I just wonder, especially in, like, decades past, Trev, like, how, like, true it was. And I think it was, especially back in the day, but how true it was that, like, factory workers would just always, every single day, get off and go to the bar and just, like...
Oh, yeah, I would imagine that's still true today. Yeah, but, see, like, that sequence of shots right there, after he runs away from the bar, like, there's just, like, an artistic flair to this, with, like, the interesting angles on the sidewalk and just his feet running, and it's almost this is so highfalutin, right? But I want to say it's almost Coen Brothers-esque to a certain like, because I was thinking, it made me think of like some of the Hudsucker Proxy or something.
No, for sure. And it's like the best way I can describe it is this film. Like the daytime scenes are a little starkly lit, like you would expect in a low budget film, but anything where it's really nighttime and they can, there's like an excuse to kind of control the lighting. Like this shot right here where he's in his apartment, it's very noirish. It's very, none of it is accidental. Like it's well lit, but at the same time, there's a lot of shadows, a lot of mood. I mean, this is definitely like, I've seen varying figures for the budget of this film, but I mean, the budget was well below $1 million, and like we said, for a movie of that, like, you know, not only time period but budget, it's like, yeah, because I mean, honestly, like, last night I watched Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is another like low budget movie, and I wouldn't even go as far to say Silent Night, Deadly Night looks bad or anything, but that movie compared to this, like, this looks like a fucking Orson Welles movie, to be honest with you.
Yeah. But this one doesn't have Linnea Quigley's tits in it.
No, it doesn't. And especially Linnea Quigley's tits that were straight off the assembly line from the looks of it in Silent Night, Deadly Night. Yeah, so here we have, he's choking a little doll. Like, I mean, he has like a dollhouse, everything, like little gnomes all over. He's really living that North Pole lifestyle, I'd say.
I guess now is as good a time as any to come in with the most interesting bit of trivia about this actor. Perhaps I'm assuming you know this, Goat, but Brandon Maggart, who is our star here and, you know, plays the grown Harry Stadling, who becomes he's always our main character and becomes the killer. You know who his daughter is in real life, right?
I know what you're getting at, but I forgot. Who is it?
Fiona Apple.
That's right.
Yeah. So this is Fiona Apple's real life dad is the star of this film, which always makes me wonder because I love Fiona Apple, and this does not certainly seem like the kind of film she would enjoy necessarily. No. But I'm guessing she's seen this a number of times, and I would love to hear her thoughts on this film.
Yeah, and Brandon Maggart, like, he actually had a pretty long career too. It wasn't like these guys who just do a couple cheap movies, like, you know. I mean, it was a lot of small parts on TV and other stuff here and there, but I mean, this guy worked a lot. But yeah, when you say that Fiona Apple, they kind of got the same eyes if you really look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, we got to mention Harry. He's going, and like, I don't even think we really explicitly know who he's spying on. He goes to somebody's house and he looks through the window and he watches this married couple like pretty much getting ready to have sex on this couch, but it's actually his brother's house. And we got to mention his brother's. I think his brother's name's Philip. His played by the I was going to say late great, but he's not late. He's just great. The amazing and incomparable Jeffrey DeMunn. And, like, I love how Harry just has a picture of Jeffrey DeMunn, like, by himself looking wacky, like a picture up on his wall.
I know. It almost looks like a Jeffrey DeMunn, like, album cover or something.
It does. There's, like, even the space to put the text on the corner of, like, what the album name would be.
But, it's interesting because we're watching Harry watch a Thanksgiving parade. And it makes me wonder, like, what's Harry, what is Harry like around Halloween time? Is he just, like, bothered by Halloween because it's in the way of Christmas, or?
If only we could have got that prequel. Now, here we have Jeffrey DeMunn.
Still time. Hollywood's prequel crazy now. So
that is true. Now we have Jeffrey DeMunn showing everybody how buff he is. He's doing push-ups. Yeah. He's watching his wife put on her panties. Like, I'm a little curious, like, why we had a little bit of viewership there. I'm kind of curious why they wanted to set up how oversexed Jeffrey DeMunn and his wife was, because it's not really important. I mean, other than the fact that it justifies the fact that they have 2 young kids, but it's not really important to the plot at all.
Yeah, I think a lot of these, like, cuts back to, like, the home life of his brother are fairly weird. Yeah. For exactly what you're just saying, they feel unnecessary, but I'm sure Jeffrey DeMunn loves it because he gets to look back at the prime of his physicality.
Yeah, he's doing push-ups. He's making out with an attractive woman. I mean, the only thing I can really think of besides the whole exploitation angle is I guess they're trying to show you the complete opposite life that he has compared to Harry. You know what I mean? Harry's just a loner in his apartment and shit. But I mean, I guess we're supposed to feel sorry for him, but like I think Harry's like got it pretty good, man. He just hangs out, eats cereal, plays with little dolls all day. That sounds like a pretty stress-free life.
Yeah, he seems to actually like his job.
Yeah. And I can never tell if Harry lived in an apartment or a house, though. It looked pretty spacious.
It kind of looks like one of those like apartments that's like above a shop or something, in a city.
Yeah, I could see that. He's definitely up high enough to spy on everybody out the windows and get up on the rooftop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so here he calls his brother saying, I won't make it for Thanksgiving. He's kind of just, this is the first time other than that time he got mad when he heard the guys making fun of him at the bar. He was like all strangling a doll. But this is the first time where like you really start to like get the feeling that how much Harry is disconnected from reality. Because he's just giving his brother, like, he's, like, completely, like, zoned out, like, wide-eyed, giving his brother bullshit excuses on the phone. And he's, like, on the edge of his seat because Santa Claus is, like, showing up on the Thanksgiving Day parade. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I love Harry's house. I want to go live at Harry's house. With all the little Santa Claus dolls everywhere.
I was gonna say, like, you jump with the low budget, and I feel like if they'd had a higher budget, I think they could probably just have a little bit more Christmas decoration in this place. I mean, I know there's a bunch, but I imagine like if someone making this movie today would probably go like super overboard on how Christmassy his apartment would be.
Like he would, like his bed would actually be like the sleigh that he sleeps in.
Yeah, and there'd be like no lights other than Christmas lights and things like that.
Right.
I'm actually surprised this film has avoided the remake train, especially during like the peak of like the remake phase. Like around the same time Black Christmas got remade. I'm surprised no one kind of turned their attentions towards this one.
Well, I'm with you too, especially more with the Christmas Evil name. I figure would be, because the Black Christmas name was so valuable. They did like an actual remake in 2006, changed the plot somewhat, introduced some new killer characters, but for the most part was very similar. And then the new movie, which like really, if you read the plot, it has nothing to do with Black Christmas, the original, but for some reason like they were just like, that's a valuable name, which I really don't think it is Black Christmas. Do you? Because I mean, I don't think the '06 version did good at all.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, clearly it's not that valuable of a name because the new one's not doing that well. I think the remake did better than this one is. Yeah.
I think also, too, you're setting yourself up for disappointment, too, when you make a remake that's just a remake in name only. You know what I mean? Well, I guess this isn't a good example, but the Prom Night remake, like, did well when it came out, but nobody ever, like, talks about that anymore because the previous Prom Night franchise was so well remembered, but nobody really connects that remake with it, I kind of like this visual of Harry cutting up the fur coat, and he's like hugging it. Did you think that was supposed to be his mom's fur coat or something?
Well, not until you just said that, but now that's going to be my new headcanon because that makes sense. It works.
Because like he's chopping the shit out of it to put the fur. Like he's not doing the cheapy Santa costume that he's making. Like he's putting like the legit fur. He's got foam padding to make himself seem fatter or whatever. I never understood this shot of the department store display opening up in the naked mannequins. You know what I mean?
I feel like it's just kind of like it's almost like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood-ish, right? Just showing like the city come to life at night or something, yeah. But here kind of all in like a Christmas sense.
And they show like the little Christmas displays of the little teddy bears skating around and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. And this is like, so now we see him in his garage painting his van, painting the Santa sleigh on the side of the van, and this garage is like maybe the creepiest spot. Yeah. Because he's just got a bookshelf full of doll heads.
Yeah, like the really like honestly, like the most of the shit in his actual apartment or house like looks pretty. It's creepy because the grown man has all these dolls and shit, but they all look pretty like clean and well cared of. But the shit in his garage, yeah, it's all like dirty doll heads that have been cut off and hanging from the ceiling and shit.
These good boys and girls books he has made, it looks like they're like professionally published too.
Yeah,
so
it's weird he's getting them made.
But see, here's another scene kind of alluding to what I'm talking about, where like the kids see him and they recognize him and start talking to him.
Yeah.
And it's not played like the kids in the neighborhood aren't like afraid of him or anything. It looks like they really like, oh, it's Harry, that guy that we kind of joke around with all the time about this. And then he's not being like scary to them or anything. He's just, he's engaging with them.
It's kind of the thing of like he's like the grown up in the neighborhood that because he has the childish spirit. Like the kids identify with him more as like a fellow kid than really even an adult, you know. He's like the weirdo Santa.
There's a little editing snafu there. There's a little small editing snafu where the direction he's looking doesn't match the screen direction. When the kid yells that he wants a Penthouse magazine. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
See, this is he has that picture of the girl on it, and it's just like, hey, yikes.
I wonder if back then, you know, because everybody thought more innocently back then, let their kids all run outside and play and shit. I wonder if back then people like see that scene of like, you know, him looking at the thing and all that like as creepy as we do now.
Yeah, maybe not, but that almost makes me think you could have pushed this even further and to be like, because what you just said about how I could see like making a new version of this where you even reveal that he's so trusted that all the parents like let him, you know, hang out with the kids and everything, and he's kind of like a go-to babysitter in the neighborhood and everything.
No, I think here's where we really start to get the insight into Harry and kind of like his MO. So he runs across the street like completely batshit out of his mind to spy on Moss Santana here, and he sees him like, and I thought it was a funny touch too that the kid is playing with like the toys that Harry makes. Like he's got the little gun and the little guy on the motorcycle. But Harry like literally like goes over there. He rubs his hands in dirt or mud, I guess. Rubs the mud all over his face. So he's kind of portraying like a boogeyman monster, and then he's going to put his hands and his face like on the vinyl siding here to make it look like a monster that was there, and like in an effort to like, you know, because like the first time I ever seen this movie, I thought he was really going to have like a score to settle with this kid and would like either try to kill him or would like go after him and the mom would get out of the way or something. But it really is just like his sense of mischievous like fun here to kind of like torment this kid or whatever.
Yeah, it's a movie. Then again, this is like a sign of the times. It's a movie that's willing to take its time and actually show us kind of this like slow spiral into, you know, total madness from him. It doesn't just ramp up instantly.
No, yeah. And like also too, the mom here is the lady who's the mom on Home Improvement. Like that's yeah, what's her name? Patricia something. Clarkson or something. Patricia Clarkson, something like that.
Patricia Heaton, is that it?
I thought Patricia Heaton was the one from Everybody Loves Raymond. I could be wrong.
Oh yeah, you might be right. No, I think you're right.
But anyway, yeah. So
it's all the same.
This is a great creepy scene here though, where the little boy notices him in the bushes, and the mom is just like, you know, get in the car, like whatever, blah blah blah, and he's like, there's something in the bushes. Like, I thought this was a great little suspense scene.
Mm-hmm.
To their credit, like, you know, they did get a kid who looked like he would be a little asshole.
That's what all kids look like to me.
Patricia Richardson, that's what it is.
Right.
And then also
you can't see anybody's breath outside this movie.
No,
you can't see anybody's breath outside in this movie. So I wonder what time of year it was when they actually filmed this.
But what's weird though is like when Harry's like walking down the street, like with the groceries and shit, it looks cold out though.
Yeah, it certainly always looks gray.
Yeah. Oh, we saw Moss's breath a little bit there. That might have been it. Well, I was gonna say it might have been an insert shot, but it kind of looked like he was outside. That's great too, where she slaps the shit out of him because he's supposedly lying about the monster in the bushes. But also too, the lady who played Harry's mom in the beginning, I forgot to mention that she was also in the movie Maximum Overdrive. I want to say she was one of the waitresses, but I'm not sure. I have to rewatch that movie to confirm.
What a filmography! Those two small roles she could probably just run the horror convention circuit for the rest of her life.
Yeah. I love Harry always sleeping in Santa pajamas too. And then there's like that theme of all the little soldier guys too that he has, which will come into play later. Well, actually, it's kind of coming to play now. We see that in his garage. He actually has like what'd you call it, like a smolter or whatever, where he melts down metal, makes these little metallic statues, whatnot.
He had a Confederate soldier and a rebel flag. In 2019, here it'd be canceled.
He would get the cancel culture. But Confederacy was still popular back then, though, because of the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
Oh, the little handmade.
So where do you fall in? Christmas horror in general? Where in Christmas horror in general? Where do you kind of fall, Goat? You a big fan of Christmas horror, or
huge fan? It's honestly, and I really got into it with Black Christmas. Oh, geez, maybe a good 12, 13 years ago. Whenever well, actually, before that, I remember seeing Black Christmas in the late 90s on cable. And I want to say it was like on IFC or something. Fell in love with the movie. Then it came out on DVD. Picked it up in whatever it was, the mid to late 2000s. Started watching the shit out of Black Christmas. Then a few years ago when it came out on Blu-ray, I got into Silent Night, Deadly Night. And then 2 or 3 years ago, I got into this movie because I was like, oh, I'll try this one. And Black Christmas is probably my favorite Christmas horror. Like, just as an overall movie. But as far as, like, a movie that's really about the theme of Christmas, this one's my favorite. Like, I really was not feeling the Christmas spirit because, like, shit was just, like, flying by. And it was cold and rainy and wasn't that many decorations around town for a while and whatnot. So, like, I really watched this movie last week to get me into the Christmas spirit, and it worked. And it sounds weird to watch a movie about a killer and whatnot, but, like, if you really watch, what I love about the Christmas horror, Trev, is it really sells the atmosphere of Christmas even more than some of the, like, the legit Christmas movies out there. You know what I mean?
No, I think you're right that some of them do a really nice job of, like, actually getting into, like, the meaning of Christmas. So, like, for me, and I know it's way more modern, but even though it's like probably the most recent big entry, but Krampus has become kind of already my go-to Christmas horror film, and the spirit and message of that movie is about as real Christmas film as you can get, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like when they. I mean, and there are others that I do like that are admittedly just more like using Christmas as a setting, you know, something like Anna and the Apocalypse, or I don't know, some of the older ones too, or something like that. Well, I was gonna say Jack Frost, but I guess he is a killer snowman. but still, you know, that's just more goofy fun with no real Christmas message or anything.
I think Krampus is really cool, and I wasn't even like really that hot on it when it first came out. And I mean, there's still a lot of horror elements that don't really blow me away. But what I like about the atmosphere of Krampus is it really reminds me of a cross between the Christmas spirit of like Gremlins and like John Hughes movies, like not John Hughes, John Hughes a little. I think there's a little bit of that in Uncle Buck, Planes, Trains, but also the Chris Columbus shit too, like with Home Alone and all that. I don't know. There's just something about Krampus. Is it like whatever year that came out? What was it, 2015 or something? That movie does not feel like a 2015 movie. It feels like something from 10, 15 years before that.
Yeah.
So here we have the Jolly Time Holiday Party, and again, just kind of like, you know, the testament to actually how quality and layered this is. There's actually a lot that goes on in this scene. My favorite part is the little TV in the corner with the drunk ass owner of the company talking about how like they're doing all this shit for Christmas, giving all these toys away to these orphan kids, but they also want the employees of Jolly Time to kick in some money too, which is like, you know, I always think that's kind of distasteful when a big company asks the employees to give up their wages to do a charitable thing. And like I don't know like how much you connect with this, Trev, but there's like this video playing that I took to be like a kind of spoof or recreation of a famous Geraldo Rivera report that was about some of the
where he went to the mental home,
and they showed like the retarded children. I guess back then, like, you know, schizophrenia, people with Down syndrome, whatever. Like, they would take these kids that were either the families gave them up or they just couldn't care for them, and they would like let them run like these. I don't know who ran them, the state, the city, the whatever, but they were really like deplorable conditions where like just people with, you know, like various like multitude of different mental illness things would like just be like walking around naked for days, just not cared for at all. And like, I thought this movie was like pretty ballsy and kind of just bring that into that this company is kind of like, you know, bringing up this topic of this like children's home and we're going to donate the toys, but like it's just not up and up at all. And I like that Harry actually put some depth on Harry's character, that he actually calls out the other management guys how the charity thing is just a big scam, you know what I mean? And then he gets you know, kind of motivated to actually make it right, because he's asking, you know, well, how many kids are there? Like, is everybody going to get a toy? And they're like, we don't know, Harry. It's all for PR, basically. Which for a movie from like 1980, you know, I thought was very savvy and interesting.
Yeah, and that's where we get back to what we were saying about Harry and this film being just a little deeper in general, is that this isn't the, you know, it's the old cliche, the old trope of, oh, the guy snaps and is just like now evil. But I mean, yes, Harry snaps, yes, Harry murders people, but if you can't allow yourself sympathy for a villain in a film, everything he does is always motivated by, he really is upset that people are doing bad things around Christmas time.
Right.
And are like, you know, kind of taking advantage of others and not living up to this, like, this spirit that he thinks everyone should have around this time of year.
Yeah, so he basically goes and robs the production line of all the toys, you know, and he basically steals a bunch of toys from the factory. And later we'll see he'll actually go and give them all to the, you know, the orphanage or the mental institute for children. So like, yeah, it's like that's what I like. That's why this one, as far as like getting to the theming of the holiday, I like this one the best, because there actually is like, you know, a couple different scenes of him actually doing like real life Santa shit, making kids happy, and like, I don't know, like, I just like that, you know. And it's like, you know, you can't excuse any of the bad shits Harry's doing for sure, because it's all, you know, it's all, you know, it's, for the most part, it's really not justified and it's all over the top. But at the same time, like, you can appreciate the good things that he does do, and the fact that he actually does want to be Santa Claus. Like, he wants there to be a real Santa Claus, and he wants to be it, you know.
Now, knowing this one has like a slightly, you know, to some degree, sweeter message, as odd as that sounds, and knowing that it's not quite as brutal as some of the other films of this time, I'm not sure about this, but maybe you know, did this film receive any of the same like backlash publicly that Silent Night, Deadly Night did, or?
You know, I don't
for having like a, you know, a killer Santa.
Yeah, I don't think it really did. And this one, as well as I haven't seen this other film, but there was another one that came out either the same year or maybe a year later, a David Hess one, To All a Good Night. Like, these movies really flew under the radar. Like, as far as I know, there was no backlash against this movie. I mean, I could be wrong. I could listen to the commentary and hear some shit, but I don't think so, because I mean, they just kept re-releasing this thing under different titles, I guess, in different markets or whatever. And they never, in any of the marketing, they never downplayed the Santa aspect, like, at all. If anything, like, that's pretty much what they marketed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, like, if I had to take
what do you like? I wonder why. Like, oh, go ahead.
No, the only thing I can think of why, Trev, is this was a pretty independent movie where Silent Night, Deadly Night was actually an experiment from TriStar Pictures, where they wanted to get into the B-movie game. So Silent Night, Deadly Night is actually a studio film, and I think what the difference was this movie was playing in drive-ins and grindhouses, and Silent Night, Deadly Night was put into like the multiplexes, you know what I mean, in neighborhood theaters.
Mm-hmm. There was this time, though, in like the early 80s or so, where like Christmas horror really kind of like, in particular, like kind of Santa slashers, right? Really kind of,
yeah,
had a big moment there. And you think that's just born of, you know, like Christmas horror, right? As an idea, is that just horror fans not willing to give up this genre after October, or is it more just what do you think? What do you think is like the root of that? Do you think it is that for a lot of people, Christmas time is so stressful and kind of scary that it's just a natural byproduct to say, hey, we can also tell horror stories then? Is it the idea of the Santa myth is actually kind of messed up if you think about it? This guy who comes into your house at night and, it lends itself to this. What do you think gets at the root of why we have so many of these?
Like, honestly, I think, and I actually even said this pretty much 4 years ago to this day, believe it or not, on when me and Corey covered Silent Night, Deadly Night. But I think it's just the idea that Christmas, like if you really think about Halloween and you really think about Christmas, like Halloween comes and we talk about ghosts and goblins, but we don't really like pound it into kids' heads that all that shit is true. Whereas, like, everybody, until they're, like, 10, 11 years old, everybody's told that Santa is real, and he has magic flying reindeers and all this. And I think it's just that thing of, like, there's so much magic. And, like, even beyond the Santa myth, the spirit of Christmas and all this, like, I think it's just because there's so much supernatural, like, fairy tale.
I mean, the most endearing classic fictional Christmas story is a ghost story, so...
Yeah, I think it's definitely the holiday. I mean, obviously, I think a little bit of just the straight-up slasher aspect of these films is just more the shock value of seeing a guy in a Santa suit. Like, let's be honest, like, that's just more of a marketing thing. But as far as, like, the idea of making something like this film, or even way later making something like Krampus, I think it really is that, like, everything we're taught, all this fairy tale Christmas kind of stuff, it's all born out of ancient tales and traditions, and like that shit is scary. Like, all the old time stuff, like it's really scary. And like I was never a kid who grew up afraid of clowns or anything, or like nothing like that. That's why, like, to me, like when everybody gets so freaked out about it and all that, I'm kind of like, whatever, it's a clown. But for Santa stuff, like if you look at like the really old time, like, hand-drawn Christmas cards and stuff, like there is a kind of like eerie quality to a lot of it. So now we got it. It's really Christmas Eve. He's in the full Santa suit, everything. We saw Mars Garcia. What was I saying? Moss Santana? Mars Garcia, is that his name? Or Moss Garcia? I think it's the little asshole.
Moss Garcia.
Yeah, Moss Garcia. I think Moss Santana is like a wrestler or something. I don't know what I was thinking. But yeah, he actually went earlier in the film. There's like a really quick shot of him digging up dirt, and he actually left Mars Garcia a big pile of dirt with like a hand-drawn like note on it. Now this is pretty much my favorite part of the movie, where he drives up to the mental institution, and like that opening shot where they're going up the driveway. That, like, when they cut in here, I think this location is obviously like not a set, but it's it's a different location, like a warehouse or something. But that big driveway shot of him driving up the mental institution, I think that was totally stolen, guerrilla style, that shot. Because even the lighting, it wasn't quite dusk there, and now it's like complete darkness here. And of course, I don't know if we talked about, he paints a Santa sleigh on the side of his panel van, which now in 2019 we would refer to that as a rape van, wouldn't we, Trev?
Yes, we would. I mean, I think a regular white van is a rape van. Yeah. A white van with Santa's sleigh painted on the side is a mega rape van at this point. Yeah.
Big time.
But this is great. I do love how fairy tale-esque this scene becomes, in a sense.
Because this is the first time where he's really, talking to someone. He's in the suit. He's really interacting with somebody. He's trying to get his ho-ho-ho going and all that. He interacts with this, like, super, like, 80-year-old guard who, comes out to see what he wants. And, he's got the gifts and all that. And, first the old guy kind of just, like, wants him to go away and stuff. And I don't know. I just, like this is... I think this is my favorite scene of the movie, actually, right here. Just this, because, like, this being a horror movie, whatever. I mean, he hasn't killed anybody yet, but we've seen he's clearly, not all there mentally. And we expect this to go wrong, and, but he's totally, just all about the Santa Claus thing and wants to give the gifts. And He's, you know.
Well, that's exactly what I like about it. You're hitting at exactly what I like. The idea that when you watch this, of course, like, oh no, what's going to happen? He's going to have to end up murdering these people, and instead it just actually plays out. And there's even scenes later, like after he starts kind of murdering people, where we still get some moments where the Santa aspect of him still comes out too, and it's not just all like, oh, now we're in the murder part of the film,
right? And it's totally like, I mean, obviously we don't know fully everything that's going on in Harry's head, but we should refer to his like famous line that he always puts on about, you know, finding his tune and singing his tune, and like, you know, that whole thing is like, you know, his idea to become Santa Claus and stuff. But like at this point in the story, I really don't think he went out this night, you know, with any clear intentions to you know, do any, like, really hurt anybody, to be honest with you. I mean, there's no way to know that for sure, but I mean, that's the feeling I get.
Yeah.
And here we have like the Christmas magic's kind of ramping up. It actually starts snowing. He starts doing more ho-ho-hos. Now all the nurses come out and they're going to see the completely full, you know, van he has with all the wrap presents. Just, I don't know, like I just think all of this stuff right here is great and plays great. And like for a low budget movie, like even like a lot of the smaller players I think are pretty good in this. Yep. I think I kept calling it Jolly Time. I think it's actually Jolly Dream might be the name of the company. Yeah, I think it's Jolly Dream is what's on the boxes.
I mean, you're not getting any of the names right tonight.
Yeah, I'm like off. You think I was half in the bag or something? I did buy a bottle of alcoholic eggnog this year, but I haven't cracked it open yet. That would probably be tomorrow when I get off work early.
One of the orderlies who ran up to grab the presents looked like Ryan Johnson.
Did he? Old Ryan Johnson, he's always, you know, somewhere.
He's always sneaking around somewhere.
Yeah. Yep. And one of the nurses looked like one of the ladies. I don't think it is, but it looks like one of the ladies from Silent Night, Deadly Night worked at the toy store. And, like, also, too, like, the people just loving him. And, like, the one lady, you know, nurse hugs him, kisses him on the cheek and all that. I think I did see Ryan Johnson back there. Good thing Lewis Jackson wasn't taking his advice and subverting expectations with this film.
I'd say we'll get to the end. I think that might be an example of subverting expectations. But
maybe. That's a good question. Like, do you think Ryan Johnson has any interest in like gutter horror movies like this?
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, as someone who I know is just a huge cinephile, I would imagine. Yeah, I would bet Ryan Johnson would definitely talk to you about like goofy exploitation horror and then like kind of horror classics for a long time. Whether he has any interest in making them, I don't know. But I've listened to enough interviews with him to know that he's kind of got that same, like, he's got that Tarantino kind of thing going for him, where he knows like everything about cinema.
Yeah.
I know he like moved to LA and specifically made sure he moved somewhere that was like within walking distance of the one of those famous theaters over there. So yeah, he's just that kind of person.
Yeah, because he's only a couple years older than us, so he had to have like seen a lot of this shit on cable and at the video store we did. So here we come. Harry comes to church, and I never could quite figure out why he comes here, other than like his bosses and the management are there, and like maybe he was going to give them a present because he has a bag of presents. But there's like these real like kind of like I think hilariously stereotyped yuppies who first come out and they see Santa Claus. They come out of the church. They start like bullying them pretty hardcore, like making fun of him and saying all this shit. Now this is like where everything snaps, and like I think this kind of shows that like Harry, like, I don't know, he has some weapons here. What do you think? Do you think Harry meant to go on a killing spree here? He gouges this guy's eye.
No, I don't think so. I mean, like, I think you're right in that wasn't the intent. But then I don't want to say people bring it on themselves, because I'm not going to be that.
I would probably
be that sympathetic to the killer.
Yeah, I would probably kill him if I was like, not even if I was Harry, just if it was me, I'd probably kill him too. But yeah,
there is something weird too about that scene. Like when we start, there are a lot of we are getting into moments now where, like we said, when I talk about like the magic realism of this film to a certain degree, like it's always, it never goes like super fantasy, but like even the idea of, like you said, all these people coming out of church and them all just standing there in one group and kind of like mocking this guy doesn't feel very realistic.
No, because
but then it pays off with you know. Yeah, it certainly pays off with him just like slaughtering some of them in front of them, and I actually think like, you know, obviously that scene's not as like intense or gritty as you would get from a horror film today, but there is something just really kind of unnerving about like a murder, like murdering 4 people in front of a group of people like that.
Right.
And it's fairly brutal. I mean, that's actually it's very quick, but the effect of the toy bayonet going into the eye.
Oh, it's great.
It's like obviously the first shocking bit of violence in this movie, and it's awesome.
Yeah, 50 minutes in, he finally fucked somebody up. But like you said, it's not really realistic. Like you have this huge set of stairs, and everybody's kind of bunched right in the middle, and then the people come out, and everybody's just kind of like watching, like what's going on? Like why are these people fucking with Santa Claus and all that shit happens? I don't know why, but that scene always played very classic to me. The lighting with the globe lamps in front of the church and stuff. That scene in particular always played really classic, almost like Miracle on 34th Street. And I don't know how much of that was the intention with the low budget and probably the quick shooting or whatnot, but it definitely does for a second feel like it's going to be I think especially too, Lewis Jackson sets you up nice because you saw him at the orphanage being literally having the Santa Claus spirit, and then that happens with the guys bullying him shit. Because I mean he seems pretty downtrodden now. After he ran away, he jumped in the van, drove away. He seems pretty crestfallen. I don't get the impression at all that he enjoyed what happened.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I mean. I think most filmmakers at this point now, for the rest of the running time, we would just be watching him go on this kind of crazy murder spree. But he doesn't do that, and so instead we go right to this scene, which is quite a shift in tone from the murder spree we just got. Yeah. And that's what I love about this film, is that it's no, there's still a bit of good in him too, that's still trying to get it out as well, because he's still Santa to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, Harry, even before he killed somebody, he should have been in a mental institution, because he is capable of this violence. But I just think it's interesting that he's just a guy who's been pushed to the much edge, and that's kind of is almost going back to the almost a little bit of the Taxi Driver theme, Here we get the great Mark Margolis, who a lot of people remember from Scarface, but also he had a pretty pivotal role in this TV show Breaking Bad. He's got a tiny role here. Him and this other guy, they come out and they see Harry peeping in the window. We should say this is it's some friends and families or something organization. I don't know what it's really supposed to be akin to, but it's basically just a bunch of people having an office party with a couple kids sleeping in the corner, and these 2 guys, obviously everybody's kind of loaded here, and they go in and they go outside, they see him in the window, they kind of pull him, hey Santa Claus, come on in here, you got to come in the party, blah, blah. So for a second there, it almost looked like they were going to be some bullies too, and maybe get the axe to the head or whatever. But it actually turns out all these people really are excited to see Santa Claus, and I kind of like that. You kind of get the, obviously the children up here, but you kind of get the complete opposite reaction than what he had outside the steps at the church. And, like you said, you see the good in him because he goes right back into being Santa Claus again. And I like this scene too.
This movie is...
No, go ahead. Trev.
If I was to say, if this film was made today, I'm sure it would be people would read this so much more political, right, about who he's murdering and who he's not. And you could obviously run with it that way, but I like that it seems so apolitical. It's not about him killing the rich or anything like that. It's he really is just if people are dicks, then that's what ultimately gets to it.
And yeah, it's here, all of a sudden we kind of get the police presence a little bit. It kind of cuts back and forth between this party and then the mob scene, all the traumatized people back at the church. The cops show up. I just wanted to point out one of the cops was played by this guy Raymond J. Barry, who's famous. He played the asshole father in Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. The guy's been in a ton of stuff, and I can't remember, was he the dad? Wasn't he the dad in Justified as well? Let me look that
Yes,
up.
yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
What was the character's name? Raylan Given, his father?
Oh man.
It's
Oh
been
god.
so long
That's
since I
gonna bother
watched
me now.
Justified.
Yeah, he was great on that show though.
Yeah, he was. But I thought it was great. You know, we got Mark Margolis, we got this guy. We get, you know, obviously the kid's mom, who went on to be in Home Improvement. So we kind of have some, you know, it's kind of, you know, makes these movies fun to look back on. You see these people in these tiny early roles that went on to have a career. Harry is dancing his ass off at this party, man. Like, this part, if he just could have went straight to this party and, you know, from the orphanage and avoided that whole, like, shit show or whatever. But he kind of does do a speech to the kids about, you know, be good and listen to your parents and all this kind of stuff. And I like this scene, too, because, like, it gets a little awkward. Because, like, you know, like, everybody kind of gets quiet. And like, you kind of don't know which way Harry's going to go with this. Like, you think maybe something uncomfortable is going to happen and some more shit's going to pop off. But it's really just that he's like I said before, he's really just like using the Santa Claus persona, I guess, to instill in the children to be good and whatnot. And
yeah, he walks right up to that. He like walks right up to the line of going too far with it, but doesn't.
Yeah, because he actually gets creepy here, whereas like where he went to the orphanage, he really wasn't creepy at all. They were kind of like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" Like the guard was or whatever. But like with this, yeah, he gets a little like, I won't even go as far as say sinister, but he gets a little to where like he seems like he's starting to go like nutso a little bit, and you don't know which way it's going to go. And then like he gets real quiet and he breaks the silence with that big, like, you know, lets out the hearty ha ha ha, like Santa Claus laughter and shit. So this scene is actually my second favorite scene in the whole movie. And like what we were talking about before, I think that's the difference between like doing this movie right and kind of doing it schlocky. Is I don't even go as far as to say the sympathy, but like it makes you wonder like how Harry could have turned out. As like much of a weirdo and traumatized guy as he is, maybe if he just would have fallen into like with the right crowd or the right people, you know, maybe he wouldn't have ended up this way.
Mm-hmm.
And I love.
No, I mean this like the schlocky version of this is certainly Silent Night, Deadly Night. Like
Yeah.
if you do this as like a double bill, it's just seeing like the two different approaches, and they're both great. Love them both, but I'm glad both exist.
I watch Silent Night, Deadly Night every single year. Like, you know, for whatever year that Blu-ray came out, I got it right away and I watched it every single year. But I mean, this movie really, to me, kind of scratches the itch more than anything. And I love. I don't know why, but I love the shots of just him inside driving the van. And that particular one, he's like fake cracking the whip on Donner and Blitzen, and all that kind of shit. So this is another great set piece, and this is where Harry goes to the house of the asshole guy who you know, screwed him over at work, made a fool out of him, whatever. And like, again, what's your take on this, Trev? Like, what was he's got a ladder, he's going to try to go down the chimney, all this. What was your take on what was he there to do?
I mean, to me at this point, he is kind of like, I feel like at this point he's going in and out of like kind of the murder Santa persona, because I don't think he's coming here to do anything good.
Yeah, he has the presence with him, but it's like at the same time, it's kind of like, why would you go to this house unless like you wanted to fuck this guy up? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why, because
but I do. Oh, here you go. Here's a nice like subverting of expectations moment, which we were talking earlier. I do like the joke here about not being able to go down the chimney,
right? Because in all fairness, the chimney is tiny. Like, it would probably be hard for a thin person to fit in there. And I mean, I wouldn't go as far as say like Harry's like, you know, rail thin. He's not. But the thing is, he actually, when he made his suit, he put a lot of padding into it, to, you know, to look like the bigger Santa or whatever. So I mean, yeah, there ain't no way he's with his padded suit and his fake belly and all that. There ain't no way he could fit down there. I mean, maybe a small child could fit down there, but and I think this scene is very well like a scene that a lot of people like would have just for time cut out of the movie. But I actually like it, just, you know, with the whole Santa Claus thing, that he tried to go down the chimney and couldn't. I don't know. I think because he like legit gets stuck here. And you're kind of like, oh shit, like, you know, because everybody, the cops at this point are after him, everything. You're like, is this how he's going to get caught, you know?
Maybe Steven Spielberg and Joe Dante saw the scene, and that's where they got the inspiration for the Gremlin story.
Yeah, about Phoebe Cates' dad. Doesn't he slide down and break his neck, and then he gets stuck, and they start smelling the bad smell.
Yeah.
This definitely would be Rian Johnson's favorite moment of Christmas Evil. Subverting the expectations. What, is there any other, like, directors? Well, we might as well go off topic because he's just stuck in a chimney right now. Is there any other directors that you know of, Trev, that are famous for quote-unquote subverting expectations?
Well, I should come in as the trademark Rian Johnson defender here to just say, like, I also think like that label on him is kind of overdone and kind of annoying, honestly. Nobody else I can think of that gets labeled that way. But even him, I think it's just become a lazy like critique of his work when I think he's just doing unique things in different genres, and then people say that's all about subverting expectations. And I think he would argue, and I would agree with him, that's just about like trying not to do the same shit we've seen 100 times before, which is, I think, admirable to me, but what do I know?
Yeah, because I haven't seen the new Knives Out, and I haven't seen his second film, Brothers Bloom, but I saw Brick, and I saw Looper, and I liked Looper a lot. Looper's my favorite movie. And Looper, like, really kind of wholesale borrows a lot of stuff from the kind of the Terminator mythology, and then it kind of mixes in a twist or two with a supernatural kid. But I never thought of Looper as a subverting expectations movie. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah.
I think you kind of.
I don't really think Brick is either. I think Brick is just, merging two genres isn't subverting expectations. It's just saying, hey, let's take noir and merge it with a teen film. So.
But oh man, I think The Last Jedi. I could see why people would bring that up, but I do think, like you said, I think unfairly every film that guy's going to make till the end of time, that's like kind of going to be the lens that a lot of people look through, you know what I mean?
Well, and all I'll say, I mean, we always get into this every single time, but having seen Rise of Skywalker now, I'll just say that subverting expectations is not the worst idea in the world when compared to just flat out nostalgia pandering, so...
Yeah, I think either. I think subverting expectations or nostalgia pandering when used as a stunt, I don't think is good. I don't think it's a substitute for having like a substantial story by any means. So I mean, I'll agree with you that. I mean, I just think it's weird. I haven't seen Rise of Skywalker yet, but I just think it's weird with everything I've heard, that as much as I dislike The Last Jedi, I'm probably going to walk away saying The Last Jedi was the best movie out of that trilogy.
Yeah.
Because love it or hate it, and I don't really love it, but it at least told a story. Even if it was a story not a lot of people... Yeah, well, whatever.
And love it or hate it, it at least felt like a filmmaker who was telling a story that they had in mind, know, and not... building something to please people. So, and I feel you're the kind of person who at least sees how like the admirableness of that, even if you don't end up appreciating it. So,
I mean, and I thought Rian Johnson was going to be the guy who saved the trilogy, who gave it a purpose, gave it a direction, and it's kind of like I think I don't even know if I don't want to say he failed because I don't think it was his job to even do that. But I don't think he did necessarily that. He did something different. But I just think opening up a whole nother can of worms. I think the way JJ opened things with a mystery box and he closed things with just a bunch of chasing and nostalgia and just action and whatever. Mm-hmm. He basically made a Michael Bay version of Star Wars. Like, I don't know. I think that's why I think there needs to be those wholesale changes in the company, because it's my personal belief that if J.J. Abrams is allowed to make even one more Star Wars movie, like, Star Wars actually will be done for good. I mean, a snake can only eat its own tail so many times. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So here we have Harry goes in. He gives the presents for the kids. Now he goes in and he sees his asshole coworker. He's kind of sad. And it's also bizarre too, because like I never really saw, unless it was in the dark, one of those scenes, because Harry put the presents under like a tiny tree, like something that fits on like an end table. And now these people, the parents, like they have like a little Christmas tree over their bed. But yeah, so it's hard to say if Harry really intended to murder or not here. Like, maybe he thought he could just slip in and give the kid some presents because, this guy was an asshole and wouldn't give his kid good presents or whatever. But yeah, he's just looking at the guy, with his rage. And then the guy wakes up and... What do you think, Trev? Was that a panic move or was that premeditated that he starts suffocating him with the bag of toys?
To me it feels premeditated because he just like goes right into it. I also think it's interesting that the guy wakes up and just like instantly recognizes him as Harry. He's like, Harry? And I'm like, wow, I don't know if that would, like, in the dark and he's dressed like Santa, that's kind of interesting. But yeah, I guess you could read it that way because he says Harry. Maybe he just feels like he has to kill him because this guy knows who he is and he's broke into the house. But
yeah. And it's kind of funny too, during that whole struggle, the wife like never woke up till the very end. And I guess we can say this is a subverting expectations moment. I love that, like Harry grabs a star off this little Christmas tree they have next to their bed, and he slits the guy's throat with it. And the wife wakes up, and I love that moment that the lady's too scared to scream. Like, she can't get it out at first. She's just like, she's trying to scream, but she can't. And then eventually she does start screaming bloody murder, and that's when Harry runs out. Because the kids see him, and it's like, oh, Santa's at our house. Oh. And then all that, the lady starts screaming.
And Harry, and it is notable too that he doesn't kill her because she's done nothing to upset him.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's just one of those things. His murdering is just really based on, I don't know, like his sense of rage and who's fucking with them.
Yeah, and it's a moral code.
Imagine if Harry could have survived this movie and done this every Christmas.
Well, I mean, we're not there yet, but that's certainly arguable, right? So
yeah, it is. We could come back to the well. Now here, Jeffrey DeMunn's kids are playing. One has a green one has a red one. They have the Sucker Man toy. I think you're too young to remember Sucker Man. You probably don't remember him, do you, Trev?
I know those things.
Yeah, so Sucker Man, like that was actually the name of it, Sucker Man. I had a red one, and it was like this like wiggly toy of like this kind of demon vampire looking thing, and it had suction cups all over it, and you could stick it mostly honestly, I guess you could do it to windows, but I always did Sucker Man to the fridge. He'd stick on there. Just goes to show how simpler toys were back then.
Do you remember those things when we were young too? That were like it was also a suction cup thing, but you would throw it at like a window or something, and then it would gradually like kind of walk down the window.
Yeah. Like there was always the generic ones, but I want to say there was actually a name brand one called like Wacky Wobblers or something like that.
Yeah. Like
they look like spiders, and you throw them, and they come down. Mm-hmm. Again, the detail in this movie, we have Jeffrey DeMunn and his wife. And they're watching the news, and we have the fake Geraldo Rivera back. He's doing a report about the murder that happened at the church and the Santa Claus. And Jeffrey DeMunn, like, he instantly knows it's Harry doing the murders, don't he?
Well, it's interesting because I think it's definitely, I think you can read it that way, and like, it's definitely insinuating that he's suspicious. But I like that they never push it all the way forward, where he instantly is like, "That's," you know what I mean? Like they don't call it out in a sense of,
yeah.
It is like these news reports are always just something that are kind of happening in the background now, and he's definitely feeling worried about it, but he doesn't instantly go call the cops or anything.
No, yeah, he doesn't try to set Harry up or whatever. And I like how Jeffrey DeMunn's kids, what's that cable channel they're always watching? The public domain channel? They always got the movies from the 30s and 40s playing. And it's like from scene to scene. I don't think it's always from the same movie because there's some wild shit that they're always watching on TV.
kind of low-key obsessed with Jeffrey DeMunn's hair in this movie.
I am too. It's just, he's younger, so it's darker. You don't have the gray hair Jeffrey DeMunn, but it's kind of like, I guess it was thinning out a little bit, but it's kind of like frizzy. So like when he acts, it's like, well, I guess more than anything, it's not even as frizzy. It's like too long, I guess. So every time he moves, it's like bouncing and weaving. This big hunk of hair is like bouncing and weaving. You know, sometimes it's in the front of his forehead, sometimes it's swept to the side. I love this too.
I also feel like Jeffrey DeMunn's interesting because there's. Go
ahead. Let's talk some Jeffrey DeMunn.
Well, it's just because like there are actors, there are those actors like Tommy Lee Jones or somebody who I always think are just like born old, right? Because you feel like you've never seen them young. And then you have someone like Jeffrey DeMunn, who I feel like there's like two young Jeffrey DeMunn movies. There's this and The Hitcher, and then I feel like I don't see him again until he's like 60. Yeah, and then he starts just being in everything.
But you don't see him until like The Mist or something, and then he's everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think it's just his voice or something. I love Jeffrey DeMunn. I hated it when he got killed off Walking Dead. I love that scene though of Harry waking up in the van. I don't know, just little scenes of this movie like help sell the realism to me, and I love that he drove the van back to the factory. He's just sleeping in the van. He's kind of sleeping like in a pile of a bunch of stuffed animals. I don't know why, and he's still in the full Santa Claus thing. The beard is still glued on. But he definitely is in the spiral now, because like he's getting upset about how Jolly Dream makes these cheapest as shit toys. Like he's breaking all these little cheap ass toys, airplanes. Just turns on all the toy lines of conveyor belts, so they all just go and fall over the floor. So I think this scene is definitely just like where he's reaching his total like mental breakdown. You know what I mean? He even jumps up.
I have an interesting bit of Jeffrey DeMunn trivia for you.
Oh, bring it on, please.
How many episodes of The Walking Dead do you think he appeared in?
It seemed like he would disappear for like long stretches. I think he made it to season 2 or 3, but I'm going to say he was only in like maybe 11 episodes. Okay,
yeah, he's only in 19. Okay. But that, to me, like it just feels like he was in so much more. Yeah. But I guess he was definitely out of there by the end of season 2. So
yeah, his character was technically on the show for a while, but he would go long stretches without showing up. And not even so much. I mean, I think it was a loss because he's a pretty good actor, and I think he could have done more on there. But I think it was more a loss that he died the stupidest death possible. I mean, he got eaten by zombies, but it was just... do you remember how he got killed, Trev?
I kind of vaguely do.
Yeah, it was like in a field or something. There was like a cow that was torn apart, and he kind of like walked up on it, and some zombies came. I don't know. It was really stupid.
Yeah, I do remember that. I remember the time it seemed like he just wanted off the show because he was upset about... Darabont. Why is the guy's name escaping me? Darabont, yeah. He was upset about Darabont leaving, so...
Yeah, I think from what I heard and read, I think Darabont definitely got a raw deal on that show. And, a lot of people got a lot of raw deal. There's been a lot of litigation towards that show from people who worked on it, so... I don't think our boy Jeffrey DeMunn was just being a prima donna by wanting off that show.
Well, no, him and Darabont go back like a long ways, like from like the Blob even. The Mist and things like that. So.
Yeah, I totally forgot DeMunn's in that. Isn't DeMunn one of the scientists in that?
It's been a long time since I've seen it, but that's right.
I thought he was. I think he was kind of rocking the same hairdo he was in this, too, if I can remember. Maybe not as long as in this. This is the longest DeMunn hair I've ever seen. We should start a podcast, Jeffrey DeMunn's hair, throughout the years.
You'll probably get him to be on it.
Oh, I won't go...
you thought he was dead earlier, but other...
Yeah, I was going to say the late great. There's a lot that's great. There ain't nothing that's late about Jeffrey DeMunn. I think his best years are ahead of him. Again, this is another scene that I feel like kind of pushes this movie a little bit in a higher realm. Is Harry calls his brother, who's like going crazy because he knows some shit's going on, and he tells this whole story. Harry tells him about how he tried to play his tune, but he couldn't get it right and all that. And Jeffrey DeMunn's just like, what the hell are you talking about, Harry? Come on. Like, he's trying to, like, talk him off the ledge pretty much. And I love that this, like, fake, maybe it's not fake, maybe it was a real board game, but I love that there's, like, this board game in the back of this, like, office there. It looks like he's kind of taking over the main office at the factory. And the board game's name is Lie, Cheat, and Steal. So, it just shows you how slimy the Jolly Dream Toy Company really is.
And you were mentioning earlier about like the noirish lighting of this film, like when the Harry's sitting at the desk in the office, like that lighting is just great looking.
Yeah, I love what DeMunn's doing here too when he's talking on the phone and he's kind of like almost curled up, almost like in a fetal position, like his knees are to his chest. Just I don't know, like they're just the level of acting and even writing, the thought that went into it, I think is pretty commendable, and this makes it enjoyable, and makes it definitely.
And we never even mentioned too, another thing that's kind of bold for like a movie of this budget to do is that when back a while ago when he glued like the Santa beard to his face and everything, it never comes off for the rest of the film. He keeps wearing this costume and has this beard on, and it gets progressively dirtier and dirtier, which I don't know if means they had to have filmed this in sequence or if they just actually had a really good like person kind of monitoring the continuity of that. But
yeah, because he's pretty clean in the movie until he got stuck in the chimney. Then you start seeing the dirt, and then like then sleeping overnight, you start seeing his face getting more dirty and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, so I mean, he definitely is a grimy Santa. And I mean, again, I think a lot of these things that we're talking about in this movie in terms of nods to old-timey things, because shit gets like real old-timey here in a couple minutes, almost like to the level of Frankenstein old-timey. But I love that he kind of like temporarily wipes out his van, gets it stuck in the snow, and he kind of gives him an excuse to get out. And this whole neighborhood is just enchanting him because like the entire like sidewalk is filled with all these various light up figurines. You don't see these as much as more people do more of the blow up stuff now, but I remember people having, obviously not to this level, but I remember these type of decorations being on people's lawns, light up snowmen, light up Santa sleighs, all that kind of stuff.
Did you ever have in your town or in any nearby towns growing up, one of those areas where like the neighborhood would actually, like everybody in the neighborhood would have to like decorate, and it would be to the extremes of where then it would become a whole thing where you drive through the neighborhood during Christmas time just to look at the lights, and it's like kind of like almost a tourist attraction?
I never had that growing up, but I actually have that where I live right now. Since I lived here, there's a neighborhood about 5 minutes, and it's really like this main house, and it's just like it's really two, like, but there's this one that just is insane. Like it looks like a theme park attraction. You know what I mean? Like just the crazy huge lights, music playing, and then the one next to it is pretty damn decked out. But that neighborhood, like yeah, it's like everybody else, like, and there's like 3 or 4 other houses that are pretty like wowzers but not outrageous, and then just about everybody on that block. We actually haven't driven through there this year, but yeah, like people actually stop and get out and take pictures and shit. Did you have one of those, Trev?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact name of like the neighborhood, but it was like it's like a really big deal where you would go and you'd actually, before you drove into it, you would give a little donation that they would put towards some charity. But then you could drive down the street for a while and, like, as you said, like just kind of go really slow and take a look at the over elaborate decorations of every house.
Wow. Now I love this scene because it's
to the point where I'm pretty sure if you lived in that neighborhood, you were like obligated to do it.
Yeah, that's how this neighborhood up here feels. Because I'm just like, in all honesty, like, I mean, I actually love seeing Christmas lights, but, like, if I lived next to one of these people, like, with the music blaring, like, you know what I mean? Like, all that kind of shit. Like, lights are one thing, but, like, the music blaring nonstop, and then the synchronized lights to the, and then, like, they have the full-size figures of, like, Charlie Brown figures and shit. But I love this scene here where, like, Harry meets some kids, and he starts giving them the presents. And this group of adults that were, with them, the parents, like, this one guy is just like a straight up, talking about film noir. This guy is like a 1940s hood, man, with a cap, and he's got a switchblade, and he's just totally like, wanting the kids to get away from Harry, and they don't. The kids are sticking up for Santa, and this guy just really wants to like stab the shit out of Harry, like he don't give a fuck. But I like this too, and and this is where like I said, I think this movie tries to get even more classic than what it is. Just starts harking back to 1940s and 1950s shit, because Harry has this.
It feels like Warren Beatty dressed as Dick Tracy should come out and beat this guy up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's just, I mean, that's like no coincidence. I mean, nobody really dressed like this still. I mean, older people I'm sure probably did, but I mean, this guy's not even that old. He's probably in his mid 30s, maybe early 40s at the most. I love it that he trips and drops the switchblade, and the little girl gives it to Santa. It's a nice little moment. Harry tries to run away, but these people want to like attack him. Talk about taking the law into your own hands. Yeah, Harry. And then I always thought it was crazy that this old lady stabs Harry in the cheek with like a pin that was on her jacket. Yeah, like even
it was a really fast escalation, like from these people.
I know, lighting the torches, banging on the doors, and like I've seen some people say like this part of the movie is like a little hokey and not realistic. But I mean, somebody would have to really convince me with some facts that Lewis Jackson wasn't really trying to craft like a modern kind of fairy tale with this. You know what I mean?
No, I think I agree that it starts getting like kind of ridiculous here, but I think you're dead on in that you actually need it to start heading in this direction for the very end to work.
Yeah. Because
if the very end was just the only element like that at the end of a very serious, dark character study, it'd be even more jarring. Not that that would necessarily be the worst thing in the world. Maybe that'd be like a little Takashi Miike-esque or something, but. But we start to slowly go in that direction here, and it sets up the final shot even better.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely all building up to that ending, which I think is what makes actually the ending work. If the ending just kind of happened out of nowhere, like you definitely couldn't have that ending happen at the end of something like Silent Night, Deadly Night. You know what I mean?
No, and like I said, this is again to use the crazy comparison. Even this, like. The people lighting the torches, and even just the way it's shot, and the shots of their feet running down the street, and then just the torches and some of the shits. Again, it feels Coen Brothers-ish to me.
It does. It's just that it very is like that.
That kind of like heightened realism, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I never really thought of it in the Coen Brothers terms, but that is kind of like, as far as modern people, that it kind of is who it feels the most like.
Or even like the look of this film. I don't know if you're a fan of like the Coen Brothers Sam Raimi film Crime Wave.
Oh yeah,
but this kind of has this has that vibe to it as well.
Yeah, there's just something, I don't know, like the filming style and sometimes the lower budgets and what, but like I think. I mean, obviously, all the classics of the 70s, but I think, or at least I hope that, 10, 20 years from now, people really look back at the 80s, and in particular, some of these better made exploitation pictures, and people really start to, like, get an appreciation of kind of the cinematography and filmmaking of this time, because, like, it blows me away that, like, how low some of the budgets were for these films, and how talented the people behind the camera actually were, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now here we come with the torches, and Harry, finally gets his van out of the snow, and they're all chasing him around as he drives away. That's a good 20 torch mob, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Like were they going to like literally use I think they were going to torch Harry up with them torches, don't you think so?
Oh yeah, I mean, what else are they going to do?
Yeah.
But you'll never not make me happy with a torch bearing mob in a horror film.
Yeah.
You're always like speaking to my happy place at that point.
It's definitely par for the course for sure. Now here he comes back to see his brother finally. And, Jeffrey DeMunn And this is where, like, I think really the movie also gets good too. Is I love the stuff between Damon and Brandon Maggart here. Just like it works dramatically, I think. Like it's just it's like he wants to protect his brother, but he's also he's fearful of what his brother might have done, and he asks him, how many people did you kill, Harry? He's more angry than anything. And I always think that's kind of an interesting dynamic in storytelling, when it's always the little brother is actually the big brother, if you know what I mean. Like always looking out for the older brother who has problems or whatever. That's a great like the wig is getting really like puffed out and ridiculous now.
Does Jeffrey DeMunn's wife only wear red in this film? You ever notice like every dress she has, or like lingerie, it's all red.
Yeah, everything. I can't remember what the mom was wearing in the beginning of the movie. Maybe it's supposed to all be a callback to that. Maybe she wears red because it makes Damon horny because he saw his mom wearing that shit.
I do have to say, I kind of agree with it. I really agree with Damon here in that I don't quite, and obviously that's maybe the point, but I don't really buy like Harry laying this all on his brother. Like his reasoning for why his brother's responsible is pretty weak sauce.
Because he really blames it because isn't the little brother in the beginning is the one who says that's just dad or something, and he's like, oh, no, it's not. Blah, blah, blah. So it's actually the younger brother who like knew right away it was like all or whatever. But it's like, I don't know, like Jeffrey DeMunn as a kid, he didn't make him go downstairs and see what he saw. You know what I mean? It's just, I guess, even if it wouldn't have been the Santa Claus fixation, I guess from what we see from him at an early age, I guess Harry would have had some kind of big hang-up. So yeah, Damon and Harry, they actually did some wrestling there, and Damon choked Harry out. So he passes out, and he starts dragging him out to his putting him in his van. I think he just like wanted to like get rid of him or whatever, or at the very least just get him out of the house for the safety of his children and wife and all that kind of thing. But I don't know if you know this, Trev, but this has kind of become a gif right here. What happens right here? Jeffrey DeMunn realizes,
it's great.
Yeah, how crazy he's being, and then like Harry just like in a second here he wakes up real quick and then just punches DeMunn through the window.
Yeah.
Damon takes it right on the chin. It's a good screen punch too. Like it looks pretty good. Yeah, here he comes. He wakes up. Oh. But what's funny though is Damon's doing some good acting right before he gets socked too. Oh. That's right up there with Silent Night, Deadly Night when young Billy punches Santa Claus. And here we come. This is the big finale we've all been waiting for. Harry drives away. He's completely lost. He has nowhere to run, nowhere to go. There's like no hope for him. He's either going to get caught or whatever. I love how batshit Damon's going, chasing down the street in the snow and everything. Chasing after his van. The mob is coming with the torches. And what's going to happen here?
And it's where, again, like the fact that the mob is still chasing him.
Yeah. So Harry's trying to, swerves to get away. The van goes off a bridge. Jeffrey DeMunn falls down a fake snowy hill. He looks up. He sees Harry's van flying away. Harry's like got his eyes wide open, and here we see that the van is actually flying through the air. We get the, I think it's the last line to The Night Before Christmas. Harry quotes it. Or I guess really more just the narration. He quotes it. And yep. The van flies away up to the moon, and that's the end of the movie. So we have to unpack that ending. Harry flying off the bridge.
Yeah.
The van suddenly taking flight like Santa's sleigh, and him flying away. This ending is very controversial, almost as controversial as the ending of The Last Jedi. But a lot of interpretations. I guess some people claim if you sync it up, or if you pay attention the right way, I should say, that you actually just hear more of a crashing sound and that he really did just crash and die. And then other people say, no, he really did fly away. And I think that really comes down, when you say, Trev, to how much you believe in the spirit of Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that... I would guess if Louis Jackson was here right now, he'd tell us that there is no answer to that question, right? I mean, I doubt he had any hard set, idea in mind of what that means, and that's fine for that. I mean, Jeffrey DeMunn certainly looks up into the sky, not down at a crash,
Right.
So. But yeah, I mean, I think it's smart to, if you're making a movie like this, especially at a time like we were saying in the early '80s when slasher films were a dime a dozen, kind of coming out all the time. I don't want to say it's as cynical as that's why they did that ending, but I think it was really clever to have such a weird, goofy, ambiguous ending, because that's what made this film stick out. And certainly the first time I ever heard about this movie was in reference to that ending,
Right.
That's certainly one of the reasons it's still known and people talk about it and kind of, joke about it a little bit. So I think people watch it, even if they're doing it to kind of mock that ending, oh well, they're still watching it,
Right. Yeah, I think, I don't know, man. It just I can't remember if I knew about it from people talking about it or what, but I'm 99% sure that, I went in unspoiled of that. And I remember when it happened, and I was instantly, it just made the movie for me. It made me love it even more. And I was this, to me, it's this really is a true Christmas story, Christmas fable, Christmas fairy tale, whatever. I love it. I think it's the perfect way. I think it actually definitely works even better than the ending of Repo Man, which has a very similar circumstance. Which in that movie, it's explained that there's a dead alien in the trunk and it's giving off this radiation and blah blah blah. But that ending really is just a weird out left field, out of nowhere type thing. But yeah, I choose to believe in Harry. I believe he did fly away. I believe he did become the true Santa Claus, just because he believed in the spirit of it more than anybody else. Where do you fall, Trev, on the ending?
I've always also looked at it with kind of a more, I want the magic to be real in that moment, and that it's weird to say that he's being rewarded considering he's done some horrible things.
Yeah.
But it's just more as you said, the spirit of the season is really kicking in at that point. I have a more practical question for you, Goat.
Yeah.
As someone who sounds like you've watched this film quite a few times. So when Jeffrey DeMunn falls down, you yourself said he falls down a fake snowy hill.
Yeah.
When he falls down the hill, some of the the carpet that's been laid down pushes aside, right? And we see kind of cardboard boxes pop out, which were clearly there to break his fall.
Right.
And then when they cut to him at the bottom of the hill looking up, they just put cardboard boxes all around him. Do you think they did that second shot to try and justify that mistake and be no, this is where people throw trash, and that's why those boxes were there?
No, because even the first time I saw it in the movie, I seen that, and I was and it's so obvious that they put down the white kind of wool, whatever, tarp on top of the boxes, like you said, to break his fall. And I think exactly like that. First, because you see the tarp, the white tarp thing actually kind of roll up and whatever. So but I think exactly what you said, because then it looks like he fell down a neighborhood dump, you know what I mean, where people just throw shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I believe 100% they're oh shit, and I'm sure it's probably a shot they didn't want to either didn't have the time to, or they just didn't want to do because for the safety of Jeffrey DeMunn, because it's a pretty wild spill that he takes down that hill. I just think it was well, we could try to redo this a million times, or maybe they did try several times, and I think just the same shit was always going to happen. That tarp thing was going to flip up, you know what I mean? So it was let's just roll with it, But I mean, even though it's a quote unquote mistake that I noticed the very first time I seen it, there's something kind of charming about it, you know what I mean? Seeing something so artificial,
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're about to watch a guy drive a van off a bridge and fly into the sky, so I'm not going to be too bothered by a fake snowy hillside.
And honestly, too, the actual like miniature or whatever it was of the van going off the bridge is actually really good. Like, it's really kind of hard to like spot, other than like obviously it doesn't fly off and it doesn't fall as fast as a real heavy van would. But I mean, the actual model or whatever they use of the truck, it's pretty good. So yeah, like this was like literally a dream come true to do this episode. This is definitely one I checked off on my bucket list, and obviously the holiday season coming here was the time to do it. I'm glad this popped up on Shudder so I could rope you into it, Trev. I'm glad you enjoyed this movie, man. It would suck to have to try to do this commentary with somebody ragging on it the whole time. So.
No, this is a good one. Do you want to throw out any other like kind of last minute Christmas horror recommendations? So we've hit on some of like Silent Night, Deadly Night is obviously another must see. Black Christmas. People probably know Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 for the Garbage Day stuff, of course.
Yeah. I watched a few minutes of that.
You ever see the Silent Night? Like remake? I mean, you were talking about like remakes that are kind of in name only, but the Malcolm McDowell one, which is actually a pretty fun, kind of modern slasher film.
The only thing I dislike about that, and I actually need to give that another watch because I've only seen it once on a Blu-ray rental or whatever. But the only thing I dislike about the Silent Night remake, which is literally just called Silent Night, it just has that like I don't know what you call it, like early 2010s, 20 whatever. It has that thing of like the whole movie's gray. And it just like, and I know a lot of that had to do with supposedly when they filmed it, they couldn't film it in season, so they just had to kind of like fuck with the colors. But that's the only bad thing about that movie is the scenery doesn't match that well, really.
Yeah. And then if we're going to go with like Killer Santas, and stay in that vein, I would just also throw a shout out to the Tales from the Crypt segment and All Through the House, which is actually 2 really good versions of that. Doesn't really matter which one you watch. They're both well done. The one that's from the original Tales from the Crypt movie, which I believe is that Joan Collins that's being terrorized in that version?
It is, yeah.
And then they did it later again for the TV show with Larry Drake as the Killer Santa. I think it was like the first or second episode of the series, and that one's really good too.
And I still haven't. We talked about this movie a few years ago when we did a holiday special, but I still haven't made it all the way through Dan Haggerty's Elves. You remember that one, Trev?
It's oh yeah, I think isn't YouTube kind of the only way you can see that now? Because that never even got a DVD release, right?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. I don't think it ever came out on DVD or nothing. And I can't really recommend it. But as far as holiday horror, what I'm currently watching, I because of time constraints, I watched a half hour last night, and I'll probably finish it tonight. Of the even older than this movie called Silent Night, Bloody Night. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Oh yeah,
I know of it. I've never watched it.
It's pretty interesting.
It's kind of like there's another one that I've. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's pretty interesting, but it's like insanely low budget. It's like there's like literally just long scenes of just like, I guess the killer or somebody mysterious just going through this old house. So it's like, it definitely has that padded runtime type feel to it.
There's like another one kind of, I don't know how similar it is or what vein it's in, but that I've never seen but always meant to get around to, called Don't Open Till Christmas.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, I know
that just falls into like that string of horror films that are don't something, But
I just saw it last year on cable because they had it during the Christmas season. A movie that actually gets made fun of like a lot, but I'm just gonna come out and say I actually really like it. And I really wish there was a Blu-ray of it. I'm gonna be honest, Trev. I'm actually a fan of Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toy Maker.
The Mickey Rooney one?
Yeah, it just has that, I don't know, man. It just has that weird ass feel to it that it's like, I would say it's like in the pieces genre where it's like, it was just made in a time and a place where like, you can never make this movie now or nobody would want to make it that way. It's just so absurd, but it's actually fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there's also just the fun irony of Mickey Rooney being one of the people who tried to get the first movie like destroyed and banned, and then he ends up starring in the 5th one.
But I mean, that's so weird too, because like he knew nothing about it. Just somebody told him about it. I mean, I guess to close this out, I mean, just real quick, I mean, I don't really think Santa Claus really is like that, like, I don't know, like, I don't think the image of Santa Claus needs to be that protected. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing a horror movie with a Santa Claus villain, like, at all. So, I don't know. Like, what do you think that really should be as off limits as some people think, Trev?
No, not at all. I mean, look who you're talking to. Obviously, you and I aren't going to be the types that, like, argue for that. But, and I don't even know. I can't imagine that being like it's kind of funny because for all this dumb, like, oh, they're trying to get rid of Christmas thing that happens every year, even though that's never really been the case.
I feel like Christmas is bigger than ever.
Yeah, I mean, in my lifetime, certainly, people start celebrating and putting up stuff for it earlier and earlier every year. Mm-hmm. But I can't even imagine like that being a controversy anymore. I don't imagine anybody would get upset anymore about a Killer Santa movie. I just think it was like a weird thing. There was just that weird kind of bizarre moral panic in general in the 80s. So who knows?
Yeah. But it's like, to me, like,
we got bigger things to worry about nowadays.
Yeah, like we got Star Wars we got to worry about. We can't worry about Killer Santas. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't see like what the big deal is, like, especially in the context of an R-rated film, which restricts the access that kids would have to it. Like, I would agree, don't show a 5-year-old Silent Night, Deadly Night, or even Christmas Evil. They might misunderstand, but it's like, if it's an R-rated movie and the access is restricted, I don't get it at all. Like, if anything, I think they should be making them because, as adults, like, we all grew up with the Santa Claus myth. Like, it's just one of those things that it's so universal that I feel like, to not explore it in films for whatever reason would just be kind of stupid censorship. But, yeah, whatever. So, yeah, I had a great time.
This is probably the last podcast you and I will do of this decade.
Yeah, I was just get ready to wrap it up right now and say of the year and all that kind of shit. But yeah, you're right, of the decade in which we met. Probably 6, 7 years.
I was gonna say, like, yeah. I was just about to ask you if you knew for sure how many years we've been doing shows together, but I'd say it had to have happened somewhat early in this decade. So it's been a while.
Because I seriously think we were doing like movie wars and shit like around 2012, to be honest with you. 2013 at the latest. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. Talk about time flying, man. It is true. The older you get, the faster time flies. Because it feels like it's only been 3 or 4 years, but it's been double that for sure. So yeah, pretty crazy. Let's sing a Christmas carol. and bond over this special season. So yeah, this was fun for me. I'll be honest with you, Trev. I was going to watch this movie anyway, but to watch it, knowing we'd be talking about it again and everything, and really diving deep into it, it was a real treat. And I'm glad you accepted the invitation, so to speak. And
always, man.
Is there anything you want to say? The last words that the listeners will be hearing from you for this decade?
Don't blame Babu Frick. Babu Frick is innocent of any of this Rise of Skywalker nonsense. It's strange that the decade is ending with Star Wars being bad and Eddie Murphy being good. It's not where I expected the decade to end up. But no, just thanks for having me on. This is a fun one. People should check us out. I feel like this movie does get. I'm glad we did this one too, because I do feel like this movie gets lost in the shuffle of Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Black Christmas. This one kind of gets forgotten about, but it should be. Those should be like I said, Krampus is my favorite, but that's kind of a different kind of Christmas horror movie.
Yeah,
those three should be like the three kind of go-to Christmas slashers for sure.
Definitely the holy trinity of at least like the retro ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody, thanks a lot. Trev, thanks for joining us. Yeah, pretty much hitting. Yeah, we've been going about 4 years strong.
And now everybody listens to this now and then watches this. Now you guys can get ready to go watch New Year's Evil.
That's right, New Year's Evil, which we'll have to do that for our holiday themed one for next year, Trev. Mm-hmm. Another one of my favorite movies that I've only recently discovered in recent years. But everybody, take care, be safe, have fun at your holiday parties. I would tell you to go get everybody some, good Christmas presents, but I think we've run out of time for that. It's December 23rd. I don't think you I have time. So enjoy your Christmas Eve. Enjoy your Christmas.
Actually, sorry, not to delay this any longer, but actually, what would be kind of fun to do here, just really quickly, is removing horror from the equation. I'm not sure if I've ever asked you, what are your favorite, we can both do this really quickly, I'm sure. What are your favorite just legit Christmas movies?
Didn't we do an episode about this, Trev?
Did we?
We did. You don't remember that?
I don't know. So now we've been doing this a decade. I can't remember this crap.
Yeah, I don't even remember what we talked about. We did our 4 or 5 favorite Christmas films. The last several years I've just been watching these horror ones. And then I'll kind of leave it up to my girlfriend to bring the kind of more straight ones. I mean, again, I want to say Gremlins before this whole, before I got on the whole Black Christmas train. Growing up, my favorite one was Gremlins. And as far as Christmas ones, you can't go wrong with the Santa Claus movie with Tim Allen. That's actually a really cute one for kids. One I saw on Netflix a couple years ago. I'm going to be honest, I kind of enjoyed it more than I thought of. I can't remember the name of it, but there was one with Jonathan Taylor Thomas where he's trying to get home in time for Christmas. That was actually a pretty decent movie. Non-horror, again, it's not legit straight up Christmas. I love The Ice Harvest with John Cusack and Billy Bob Thornton. It's just a crazy, it's kind of like a crime caper film that takes place on New Year's Eve. That's just really downbeat. One of the, I don't know, I can't remember if it was the last, but it's one of the last movies directed by Harold Ramis. Did you ever see that one, Trev?
No, I know of it, but I never saw it.
I think it's worth checking out. I'm trying to think, man. I gotta come clean and say I don't really ever go back. I mean, and then obviously I can throw both Die Hard 2 are great that they happen on Christmas, but I don't really get into those classics other than The Grinch Who Stole Christmas and stuff. I enjoyed the Grinch cartoon that came out last year, but I don't really get into all them classics It's a Wonderful Life and all that. Do you have some that you get into every year?
I actually just thought it'd be funny if I came in here and listed a bunch of those Hallmark, Lifetime Channel Christmas movies that they just show all year long. But I don't even have it in me to look up the titles for those.
Well, I watched one last night. I'm kind of with you. We watched some of those in this house.
Yeah, I have the same standard kind of go-tos. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is great. It's actually my favorite of the vacation series. Christmas Story. Yeah. I feel like maybe now enough time has passed for me to try and watch Christmas Story again. I certainly have gone years without watching it just because of how much you see it when especially when you're younger, and we would watch cable TV more often. And as everyone knows, it's just kind of constantly on cable around this time of year. Ernest Saves Christmas, I enjoy.
Oh, I haven't seen that one since I was a kid.
Yeah, and Muppet Christmas Carol, I think, is another fun one to watch.
Good. I also like Mickey's Christmas Carol too, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I think they're both available on Disney Plus right now. So we might as well throw a plug in for Disney Plus because they'll own this podcast soon. Sure, yeah.
The shows that we are. I actually feel like maybe we should shill more for stuff on this podcast. We don't really do a lot of shilling. But, yeah, they're all good. I know it's... What is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles? Are they trying to get home for Christmas or Thanksgiving on that one?
It's a Thanksgiving.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. That's actually a fun movie. I actually watched that for the first time a year or two ago. I always seen bits and pieces of it on cable, but I actually sat down. I
Oh,
guess.
and here, you know what? I'll throw out like if people are looking for like a fun alternate Christmas horror film that other than and maybe like a less obvious one. This is a 2000s film, but go check out P2, the
Oh
movie about
yeah,
the killer security guard in the parking garage. That's a really fun movie
yeah,
set
Wes
at
Bentley.
Christmas. Mm-hmm.
That's almost like a horror version of Die Hard in a little bit of a way. And
Yeah, a little bit.
also, my favorite feel bad Christmas movie of all time is you can't go wrong with Less Than Zero.
Oh yeah.
That has a great Christmas theme.
Oh, Go as well. Doug Liman's Go.
Yeah, I love Go. I always forget that Go happens on Christmas because they go to the Christmas rave. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I wish I could have compared notes with that holiday special we did a few years ago, Trev. I think it's called the 2016 Holiday Special. It's me and you breaking down. But maybe we can plug that right now. Everybody go listen to the 2016 Holiday Special to get our real picks and not just the picks that we had off the top of our head.
Yeah. Hope we didn't say anything then that contradicts now.
We probably did. We're probably on there being like, oh man, we're probably being like, oh, this sucks, that sucks. I do remember us on that podcast, we did talk about elves. And I remember we talked about the Dolly Parton Christmas movie. Remember that? The one,
the
one with the hillbilly kids. You remember that movie?
Yeah, yep. Now I remember. Yeah, now it's coming back.
Yeah. I should splice in clips of us like contradicting ourselves, but no. But yeah, so everybody, I hope you have a great Christmas. Have a great. Actually, has Hanukkah started yet? I think Hanukkah.
Yes, it has. Yeah.
Yeah, it has. Hanukkah's already going on, so everybody celebrating Hanukkah. Have a great Hanukkah. Christmas in a day or two. Have a great Christmas. Then
Kwanzaa.
We're going to hit that Kwanzaa on the 26th, and then New Year's on 31st. Now, Trev, I got to ask you: Are you more a New Year's Eve guy, or are you more a New Year's Day guy?
I don't give a crap about either of them. Truth, it's just another year.
I like New Year's.
The last few years, I've actually been. I don't know about you. The last few years, I've been pretty lame and haven't even gone to a New Year's Eve party. I just kind of chill out.
Check this out. I've only been to one New Year's Eve party in my entire life. Thankfully, it was the only one that counted, the 1999 to 2000. And my friend was so paranoid when it hit 2000. He like when the countdown started, like the 10-9, he literally ran out and jumped out like off this porch into a bunch of bushes. And like not even as a joke, he actually did it. I'm just like, and I mean we were drinking all night, of course, but it wasn't like we were like pissed drunk or nothing. I don't know why he did that, but yeah, I think that's my biggest New Year's Eve highlight, watching my friend at the time run and jump into a bush. But yeah, New Year's, it's coming up. So everybody, thanks again for joining us. Trev, thank you. It's always fun. The older you get, sometimes it's harder to get into the spirit a little bit more of Christmas, because it really is a holiday designed for kids. So it's nice to hit up these old flicks, get you in the mood. Mm-hmm. Everybody, have a great holiday season, and we'll see you next year. Not just next year. We'll see you next decade in the movie graveyard.
Yep.
I really must go now. But now, I want you to remember to stay good boys and girls. Respect your mothers and fathers and do what they tell you. Obey your teachers and learn a whole lot. Now, if you do this, I'll make sure you get good presents from me every year. But if you're bad boys and girls, your name goes in the bad boys and girls book. And I'll bring you something horrible.
Yeah!